first, before we start solving logs, and they do have limitations. For example, we have log base b, and the inside number of the log has to be positive always. That means 1, 2, 3, but not -2, not 0, not 1 -1/2, not -1.5. No negative number absolutely can be inside. If that's the case, you're going to have no solution. If your number is 1, 2, even one fraction of 1/3, positive 1/3, that's fine. 7, that's okay. Even the square root of 5, but that's positive, so we're good. So the number inside has to be positive. Another thing to mention is the square root property before we begin. If you have x squared equals whatever number, in this case 36, to solve it we need to apply the opposite of a square, which is the square root. So we're going to square root both sides, and when you do that, the x squared and the square root cancel, and you end up with plus or minus whatever the square root of 36 is. In this case, the square root of 36 is 6, so we're going to say the final answer is plus or minus 6. You're also going to need to know how to factor trinomials or use quadratic formula to solve for the problems. What we're going to be doing, we're going to be solving logs with quadratics inside of them. So for example, this one I just need to get rid of the log, so I'm going to use the base of 4. And you end up with x squared plus 6x equals to 16, because that's 4 squared. We're going to move the 16 to the other side because this is a trinomial. When you have two x's, for example, you have x squared, you have the linear x of 6x minus 16, because if you move the 16 to the other side, it becomes negative. What I'm going to do it by a times c, where we multiply the first number times the last. In this case, 1 and -16. So I'm going to do that. So -16, my middle number is 6. So what two numbers multiply to -16? They combine to the middle number of positive 6. So I'm going to do myself a table of multiples. In this case, 2 times 8, 2 times 4, no, 2 times 8. And 4 times 4 makes 16. And I know if I multiply positive 8 and -2, I'll accomplish that. Because -2 times 8 is -16. And -2 plus 8 is 6. Now, the factors are x minus 2, x plus 8, because a is 1. Those are my factors already. And they're equal to 0. Now I'm going to use the zero factor property, which says that I can separate them. So now we have x minus 2 is equal to 0, and x plus 8 equals to 0. Going to our zero factor property. Move the 2 to the other side, it becomes positive. Move the 8 to the other side, it becomes negative. Now you do have to check your answers for this one. Okay, now we do need to plug in the answers into the original column. In this case, I wrote it down here. We're going to plug in 2 to the inside of the log. So x is equal to 2. I'm going to write the whole thing for this one, but you don't really need to write the whole thing. I just need the x squared and the 6x. So 2 squared plus 6 times 2. And what we're looking for is a positive number inside the log. Because remember, we have limitations on logs. So what's 2 squared? 2 squared is 4. And 2 times 6 is 12. and last time I checked, 4 plus 12 is 18, and because I have a positive number inside the log, x equals 2 works as one of my answers. Now we had to do the same thing for the -8. We're gonna plug it in. So log base 4, and then to be honest, I only should worry about the inside of the log. So it's -8 squared plus -8 squared plus 6 times -8 equals to 2. So I'm only going to worry about the inside. So that's 64 minus 48, which gives you 16, which is positive. Therefore, x equals -8 is also a good answer for this equation. You do have to check all your answers for logs with quadratics, guys. Now let's look at ln of x squared minus x equals to ln of 6. The ln's cancel each other out because we do have ln equals to an ln. It gives you x squared minus x is equal to 6. Again, this is a trinomial because we have the x squared and the x, the linear x. So it's x squared minus x minus 6, if we move the 6 to the other side. I'm going to do it by 8 times c, so I'm going to multiply the first number, which is 1 times -6. And then I'm going to look at the middle number. So I needed two numbers to multiply to -6 to combine to 3. In that case is -3 and +2. And because a is 1, this is my factors. X minus 3, x plus 2 equals to 0. We're going to use the zero factor property that says x minus 3 is equal to 0, x plus 2 is equal to 0. Move the 3 to the other side, x is equal to 3, x is equal to 2. And we do need to check our answers. Okay, let's plug it inside the log. In this case, we're going to plug in the 3 in there. So 3 squared minus x. Now 3 squared is the same thing as saying 3 times 3. So 3 times 3 is 9, and 9 minus 3 is 6. And now we got a positive 6, that means 3 works. Now we're going to plug in -2 into the x's inside the original equation. So -2 times -2, because that's x squared, minus -2. Well, that gives me 4 plus 2, which then is positive 6. Now, because it's positive, that's also a good answer. Now let's look at this problem. Now I notice that I have one log on one side, so to get rid of it, I do need to apply the base. So I'm going to do the big giant 7. Now the log and the base cancel each other out, and you end up with x squared is equal to 7 squared. Now to get rid of the power of 2, first of all, let's convert that to 49. Okay. So how do you get rid of the power of 2? We're going to do the opposite, which is the square root. This is the square root property when you square root both sides. And the square root property says x is equal to plus or minus the square root of 49. And in this case, the square root of 49 is 7, so the final answer is plus or minus 7. You do have to check your answers to plug. Okay, so if I plug in positive 7 into the original, and then we also have to plug in -7. But I only need to worry about the x squared because that's what's inside the log. I don't really care about anything else. So let's plug in 7 in there. So 7 squared, what's 7 times 7? Positive 49. Okay, there's no limitations on that, so we're good. And then we're going to plug in -7 into the x squared inside the log. Well, -7 times -7 is also 49. positive 49, which is also a good answer. So both answers are good to go. Okay, now let's look at this problem. We do have to condense the left sides. They do have the same base, log base 2. And when you add logs, we multiply. So x and x plus 5 needs to be multiplied. So we're going to have log base 2. X times x is x squared. X times 5 is 5x. And it's going to be equal to whatever the other side was. In this case was log base 2 of 6. Now we do have a log equals a log, so they do cancel each other out. I don't have to do the base thing. And I end up with x squared plus 5x equals to 6. Now this is a trinomial because we have two different kinds of x's. We have the square and the linear. We're going to move this 6 to the other side. So it's minus 6. And then we're going to do a times c. So the first number, 1 times negative 6, is negative 6. And the middle number is 5. So what two numbers multiply to 6 that combine to 5? Well, that will be positive 6 and negative 1. So because a is 1, this is my factors. And then we're going to do the zero factor property that says x plus 6 is equal to 0. X minus 1 is equal to 0. Therefore x is equal to negative 6 and x is equal to positive 1. And let me go change that positive 6 to negative again. We do have to check the answers. Remember that we only need to worry about the insides, x and x plus 5. Not about the 6 because there's no x there. So we do have to plug in the 6 twice. So if I plug in negative 6 into x and x plus 5, and then we're going to plug it x equals 1 to x and x plus 5. Now if I plug in negative 6 into the x, I get negative 6. What do I get? Negative number. That means that 6 is a fake answer. If I plug in 6 in there, I'm going to have a log of 6. That's not a good thing to get. Now 1 on the other hand, if I plug in 1, I get positive 1. And if I plug in 1, I get 6. That one I get negative 1. So in this one I get 6. So the only one that works is x equals to 1, guys, because of the limitations on log. Okay guys, we do need to condense the left side. Now we do have a negative, so it's going to have some kind of division. So in this case we have ln, and on the top of the fraction we're going to have the positive ln, which is x squared minus 10. And the bottom of the fraction is going to have the 3. And it's going to be equal to ln of x. Now, because we do have two ln's in the both sides, they're going to cancel each other out. And you're going to end up with x squared minus 10 over 3 is equal to x. Now to get rid of the 3 in the bottom, we're going to multiply both sides by 3. And we have x squared minus 10 equals to 3x. Now we do have two types of x's, so this is a trinomial. So we're going to move the 3x to the other side. So x squared minus 3x minus 10 is equal to 0. And then we're going to factor. We're going to do first times the last, so it's negative 10. And you end up with negative 2 in the middle. Negative 5 and positive 2 are my factors. Because a is 1, that's my factors. And then we're going to do the zero factor property. So move the 5 to the side. X is equal to negative 5. Not positive 5. So x is equal to positive 5. And x is equal to negative 2. Now we don't need to rewrite the whole problem. I can directly plug in my answers into the insides of the log. So 5 squared is 25, and 25 minus 10 is a positive number. And if I plug in 5 into ln, it's just 5. Now negative 2, if I plug in straight to the ln of x, I get ln of negative 2. That tells me that this is a fake answer. I don't have to rewrite the whole problem. I can do it manually. Well, I hope you like this lesson. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you later, guys.